Alright, so today we're going to be ranking every super rare cat from worst to best, and we're also going to be putting them on a tier list, because tier lists are awesome. Now, starting off with the very worst cats in the game, it's the Nenetko variants. It honestly doesn't matter. There's no really debate of which is bad. They all absolutely suck. You will never use them in stages, ever. They are unusable. Just never invest them, because they are effective against metal enemies, but they're single target, so they don't do anything, and they just suck. Like, there's so many better options that you can get really easily. Alright, next up on our list, we have the Cat Base Mini. Now, this guy, he also sucks. He is like a very, very, very bad Crazed Ghost Cat. And Crazed Ghost Cat is good, but this guy is absolutely not good. He is extremely bad. He just sucks. It's hands down. He's just terrible. All right, next up we have Ice Cream Cats. Now, this is confusing. It slows traitless enemies from a really short range and has Behemoth Slayer. So I don't know what they were thinking of, but this guy sucks. He's useless. So F tier for him as well. Alright, next up, we have, Maniac Dark Cat. Now, this guy is, pretty bad, let's just say that. He seems good, he has high DPS, but he's so expensive, and, like, he just sucks. He's so low range to do anything, so he's just irrelevant, so it's an easy F tier. Alright, next up on the list, we have none other than a Backhoe Cat. And where is Backhoe Cat? What? Okay, so Backhoe Cat is gone. Oh, never mind. Anyway, yeah, Backhoe Cat sucks. It slows metal enemies, but it sucks as its job, because it only attacks metal enemies. I don't know why this unit exists. Alright, honestly, rounding off the F tier, we have none other than Cataphone. Now, this guy is pretty terrible. All he does is some random alien things, and honestly, aliens, there's so much better counters. There's no point in using him. Alright, so at the very bottom of the D tier, we have Suntan Cat. Now, this guy, he can dodge traitless enemies, but it's just not worth it. All of his stats are so mediocre, it's just not worth the investment to get this unit. Like, I don't know why you would invest him. Please don't invest him, because he absolutely sucks. Alright, next up on the list, we have Botsaiva Cat. Now, this cat is just absolutely outclassed by Sanzo Cat. He's good in maybe Mechabun, but other than that, there is pretty much virtually no reason to use him. He is good at what he does, but Sanzo Cat is just infinitely better at what he does. And next up on the list, we sort of have the exact same story, and that is none other than Juliet Cat. Now, Juliet Cat, it does stuff to angels. The problem is, Sanzo also does stuff to angels, and he does that stuff a lot better, so it just has to go here. Next up, we have Gold Cat. Now, this is an interesting one. He's immune to waves, and he's a meat shield, which is a valuable niche that, like, has not been filled by anyone except him. The only problem is there is a lot better options that we'll get to later on for wave blockers, and, he is extremely expensive to evolve. Like, oh, I don't know why you would do this. It's not worth the investment. Alright. Rounding up the D tier, we have Pile Driver Cat. Now, this guy, he knockbacks zombie enemies with Omni Strike. It's an interesting concept, but I don't know. Welterweight Cat exists. He's just confusing. I have never used it ever. Yeah, he's just really unfortunate. He could have been good, but he is not. And so he's just gonna chill in the D tier. Alright, so now we're running out the C tier. Now, these are where things start to get quite passable, to be honest, and maybe even occasionally good. So starting off that, we have Maniac Flying Cat. Now, this is just effectively a better version of Maniac Dark Cat. Its DPS can get ridiculous. Its range is fairly short, but it is extremely strong, and it does have area attack. So, it's honestly fairly good, and occasionally. You have to have very good control of the units in order for it to work, but when it shines extremely bright. Alright, next up we have Copcat. Now this guy, he annihilates Boar Juniors, and Boar Juniors suck. That's pretty much it. He's bad at everything else, but Boar Juniors are the bane of everyone's existence, so he deserves a spot up here. Alright, next up on the list, we have this guy. Now, he weakens traitless enemies to 10%, which can do some really funny cheese strats with, like, just the maniacs. It can just weaken them and cripple them, so he makes a lot of traitless bosses a lot easier. Other than that, he's pretty useless and sort of irrelevant, so that's why he's going up here. He's good occasionally, essentially. Alright, next up on the list, we have Maniac Jamero Cat. Now, this guy, he is a tank, but tanks are really hard to work well because everything does so much damage, but he can do stuff, and his level 10 wave attack at a 10% chance is just devastating when it procs. It rarely does proc, but it does have a massive payout when it does, and it feels so good, but it's just extremely situational overall. Alright, next up, this is a fairly standard pick. We have Professor Catjobs. Now, this guy is good in a couple situational stages. He weakens enemies to 1% HP, basically rendering them useless. The problem is, everything about him is fragile. He is extremely slow, so it's hard to use, but when you use him, hilarity can ensue, and it's just sort of great. Alright, next up on the list, we have Bath Cat. Now, Bath Cat is an interesting one. It's good against red enemies, but Courier Cat exists. We'll just leave it at that. Courier Cat exists, and Courier Cat just dominates against reds. It's really hard to contain in a meta where Courier Cat exists. Alright, next up on the list, sort of in the similar vein as this guy, we have this guy, Time Travel Cat. Now, I don't even know about this guy. He does a similar role to Courier Cat. He's a generalist. He's good at the early game, but he just sort of fades into irrelevancy. He is good. He does have some strength over Courier Cat, like increased range, but he also has a lot of downsides that Courier Cat just absolutely destroys him in most other situations, so he's going up here. Alright, so now we have the B tier, and starting off we have JoJo. Now, JoJo, he's good against relic enemies. His floating niche is pretty much unused. I mean, I used him for Teacher Bun Bun, but besides that, he's pretty useless. But against relics, he can do some work. The problem is, relics have honestly been power creeped extremely hard with Ural and just a lot of other things. I barely use him. There's not really a good use for him, but he does do well, and it's hard to deny that. Alright, next up on the list, we have Rich Cat. Now, Rich Cat is extremely weak. The problem is, her combos are absolutely cracked. You do have to sacrifice a top row lineup, which sacrifices a slot for cat combos, and sacrifices just the ability to use more units, but you get an extra level and some starting money, which can be, like, insane for rush stages. It's really situational, but it does help out a insane amount when you're able to use him. So it's sort of just like a all or nothing. You either get just no value out of it, or you get a absolutely insane amount of value in it, and there's really no in between. But it's a fun unit to have for sure. Alright, next up on the list, we have Soap Cat. Now, this guy is a really strong tank. The problem is, I don't know, he's just sort of niche. He's expensive, he has a slower charge time, he's very tanky, but it's hard to get him to work well. He's extremely cracked against Xenobeast because, he has both of the traits that Xenobeast has, being targeting both aliens and behemoths, so that's awesome, because Xenobeast is so annoying, but besides that, like, honestly, there are a lot better options, like Jetpack Cat, Rover Cat, there's better options. Alright, next up on the list, we have iCat. Now, this is sort of controversial, but iCat is just so hard to use, and red enemies are barely a threat, so it's going here. It's really hard to use, but when it does a pretty good job. And that's it. It's pretty hard to deny. It just does a okay job. Alright, next up, we have Soba Cat. Now, Soba Cat, it's interesting because it has a guaranteed critical chance, which is a godsend. The only problem is it takes forever to attack. Getting a single hit off will make you so happy, because it is impossible to get a hit off because her attack animation is so long, and she has single target. So it's niche use, but it does add some critical damage, which is very much needed. Alright, next up on the list we have Nymphcat. Now Nymphcat is supposedly good against Aku's, but honestly, she's sort of just, I don't enjoy her as much. She's overhyped in my opinion. Ural exists, which just demolishes Aku enemies, or at least makes them a lot easier, and she's just sort of hard to use because of her long range. So I just don't enjoy her as much as other people do. Alright, next up on the list we have Maniac Lion Cat. Now, Maniac Lion Cat is a very interesting one. He's a rusher. He rushes in fast, so you can do chi strategies with him. You can block off units. It can act as a meat shield if you have an absurd amount of money, because it is a very quick and very spammable unit. So, yeah, he's very spammable, which is awesome. The problem is, he's expensive and he doesn't do much for his price besides being fast, so he can't go that much higher than B. Alright, next up on the list we have Cat Typhoon. Now this might seem high for some of you, but Cat Typhoon is really slept on because he demolishes Metal Doges, and Metal Doges suck. When Metal Doges are just on your own, you can pop him in and you'll know you're going to be chilling against Metal Doges because he counters them very well with his extremely fast attack speed. I would suggest using him. He is a absolutely beast when you use him right. Alright, next up we have Golfer Cat. Now this guy can do some really funny chi strategies because he actually doesn't hit in his range. He hits slightly past his range because of his weird long distance mechanics, which means you can stack, and he stacks really well. He is a early to mid game staple for chi strategies, and honestly in the late game he can do really well too. His damage is pretty good, he does attack behind, and that allows him to snipe things, which is pretty interesting. So he is actually a shockingly solid unit overall. Alright, next up we have Milter Sawcat. Now this guy, he attacks really fast, he does massive damage against aliens, he looks amazing, but the only downside is he attacks really fast, which may sound like a good thing, but he'll just knockback stun them, making him do a lot less damage than if he just attacked in one huge burst, which sort of sucks, and that's why. If he attacked slower, he would be a lot better of the unit. Next up, we have Kitty of Liberty. Now this guy, he does his one roll very, very well. Like, I'm moving him up to A tier, in fact, because he breaks barriers like an absolute beast. It's unbelievable. He is the go-to barrier breaker, and that's all there is to it. That's all he does, but he does his one roll very well, and barrier breakers are very much necessity. Alright, next up we have Housewife Cat. Now this is sort of the go-to option for zombies, and she does her job very well. There's nothing else to say. The Savage Blows are super nice. Alright, next up, this might be a sort of controversial take, but we have Maniac King Dragon Cat. Now this guy is good. You can stack some really good DPS, and its range is very good. The problem is it's expensive. You have to have a lot of money to use it well, and you have to protect it well, because it's not the tankiest, and that's why it's going here. So it's fine, but it's just not the best. That's it. Alright, next up we have Slapsticks Cat. Now this guy, it's good against relic enemies. It's very good in early Uncanny Legends, but after that, you just get better options. Once you get, like, halfway through Uncanny Legends, you don't need the power that Slapstick Cats provide. Also, Courier Cat has definitely devastated his role, because Courier Cat fills a very similar role to him, and that's why he goes on this list. Alright, next up, we have Seafarer Cat. Now, this guy freezes alien enemies. He's very annoying to deal with, and honestly, he's just sort of RNG dependent, because he sometimes procs really well, and sometimes he just doesn't hit at all, and he's very hard to stack because his recharge time is extremely slow for a unit of his caliber. So he's good, but he's just not that good in my opinion. Alright, next up on the list, we have Sniper the Deadeye. Now this guy is absolutely cracked with Cyberpunk, but that's sort of because of what Cyberpunk is. Besides that, he's good. He can definitely do some good stalling against bosses or with very few peons. But if there's a lot of peons, he just gets overwhelmed. He's very good in, like, late game stages where there's just a couple threats. But early game, he serves a lot. less of a use, but this list is mainly based on endgame, so that's why he gets all the way up here. Alright, next up on the list, we have Maniac Macho Legs. Now this guy, he stacks waves, and he is a very good waver. There's nothing really more to it. He just spams waves and it's awesome. Alright, next up on the list we have Maniac Island Cat. Now this guy is also a very solid unit. He honestly does what Courier Cat cannot do. He is both a tank and a damage dealer. He does obviously have some trade-off, like shorter range, which is inherent for a tank, and more expensive and single target. But he is very tanky, and he is a little bit more generalist compared to Courier Cat. I'd still obviously pick Courier Cat, but this guy is surprisingly good at what he does. You'd honestly be very surprised. Alright, honestly, there's just 2 more units left in the A tier, and starting off we have Rocat. He tanks for red enemies. That's absolutely it. He's just good. He's just fairly solid of a unit. Alright, rounding off the A tier, we have Maniac Mohawk Cat. Now, this guy, he is the perfect, very cheap meat shield. The only problem is he only survives 1 hit, and Rock Cat can easily outclass him for just a little bit more money. So, honestly, he can be good, but he's sort of been outshined. But, obviously, he still works in very many lineups and almost always gets some value. Alright, so at the very bottom of the S tier, and now these cards are all extremely dominant, we have none other than the Kamikaze unit. Now, he's like Bullet Train, except he doesn't give double dash, he does massive damage against red enemies, and he has a very high chance of doing 2 hits, because he has Survive, and he strengthens by an absurd amount. That is really good. He can do some insane damage for just 750, he can cripple units, and yeah, this guy is just insane. He is so broken. This is just the very bottom. Alright, on the next up, we have Fishman Cat. Now, he's sort of in a similar boat. He rushes in, he does a lot of damage, and an absurd amount of damage to floating enemies, and then he leaves. He always gets his money worth. It's really hard to screw him up. You can react to whatever the enemy throws at you because he's very quick. He does his job very, very well. He can work in pretty much every lineup imaginable. Alright, next up on the list, he's not as versatile, but he does his job better than anybody else does, and that's Octocat. He is a insane unit because of his wave blocker ability. He just completely stops waves. And he's slow, which is actually a very good thing, because it means he'll stay on the field blocking waves for longer, which is just, it's just cracked. And he also tanks for floating enemies very well, and weakens floating enemies. He just has absolutely everything. Alright, next up, we have Pizza Cat. Now, yeah, he's good. He is like a better Kaso Jizzo. Also, Kaso Jizzo got an Ultra Form, so that might not be for long. But he's very good. He has a wave attack that can devastate. It's small, but very devastating. He does massive damage against black enemies. He just destroys black enemies for breakfast. Yeah, he can be used in virtually any lineup to great success. Alright, the 4th best super rare cat in the game is, in my opinion, Maniac Eraser Cat. Now, this might be pretty controversial, but I honestly don't use him as much because he serves as a similar role as Maniac Mohawk Cat in the late Zero Legends, because he can really only take 1 hit at the very end game. But honestly, any other part of the game, he is absolutely cracked. He was once the best cat in the game before everything got so strong and Rock Cat was introduced. But besides that, he's just good. He does his job very well. He is the best meat shield in the game, that it doesn't have a weird gimmick. So yeah, he deserves a spot as the 4th best rare cat in the game. Alright, number 3 on the list, it goes to Bullet Train Cat. Now this guy, he's a godsend in rush stages. You put him in, he gets double cash, he does a lot of damage, and then he goes. He can be a constant cash supply if you time it right, and it just skyrockets your money and helps in so many ways. It is absolutely insane. This guy, he's very good. Alright, number 2 on the list, we have Cyberpunk Cat. And Cyberpunk can be stacked. He can break any stage that the boss doesn't spawn on a timer and spawns on base hit. any stage in the game, which is insane. He should not be able to disable that many stages so easily. He is just insane, and even stage where the boss does spawn on a timer, he can still do a decent job, like amazing job. Alright, and the number one spot by far, in my opinion, is Cat. Double bounty, speed, 80,000 damage per hit, attacks fast, respawns fast. There is nothing she can't do. You can put her in any stage in the game, and she will be very good. This could be a Uber unit, and I wouldn't blink an eye. She is amazing. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, consider subscribing and just comment your thoughts below. Do you agree with the list? Anything you would change? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Should I do another ranking next? Let me know. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye.